Free men we stand under the flag of our land, Zambia. Praise to thee, oh one, strong and free.
I would like to express my sincerest thanks and honor to the Deputy Secretary General of the Commonwealth for gracing us with her presence, and also to Ambassador Ajay Brondeo, permanent representative of the African Union to the European Union. I also want to thank most sincerely His Excellency the High Commissioner, Mr. Muyera Chikonde, for affording us this opportunity and giving us the venue to host this launch. I'd like to thank the High Commissioner and his staff, more especially the Deputy High Commissioner, who is the head of the Chancery and actually the host and landlady of this place. I'd also like to recognize Professor and President Elio Dana, who is the founder and president of the European School of Economics. They were the first people to offer us scholarship opportunities, and I am very grateful. I'd like to also emphasize about Zambian giving back to their own community through our very own Dr. Lokomona, who's also given us scholarships at his college, an entrepreneurship college. And at our foundation, we recognize that Africa is at a new transition in its development, and that Africa needs a new type of leadership in the political, economic, social, and all other sectors of life. Indeed, Africa is rising, and at the center of this growing continent, women. And I believe closing the gender gap would ensure sustainable growth for the African continent. However, according to the OECD, the social dimension of sustainable development and its emphasis on equity and equality is the most politically sensitive of the three dimensions of sustainable development. And thus, it is the hardest to address because it involves confronting negative social attitudes such as growing income disparities, rising unemployment, and a persistent gender gap. And our focus is on that persistent gender gap. As stated by former Secretary General of the United Nations, Kofi Annan, no development tool is more effective than the education of girls and the empowerment of women. Our foundation is offering young African women a unique opportunity to acquire higher education at renowned institutions of higher learning across the globe. This idea is not only a passage to a career, but it is an enrichment of the mind. Having lived in the diaspora, I still remain a very proud African, and I still believe in the potential of Africa. That's why I'm launching this initiative. Living in the diaspora, I have identified firsthand the benefits of global exposure. I therefore believe that the knowledge, information, wisdom that our scholarship recipients will gain by studying abroad will enhance their capability to become global citizens in a world that is increasingly integrated and yet disintegrated in another way. In his foreword for the 1998 World Education Report, Federico Meyer, then Director General of UNESCO, famously said, "The world we leave to our children depends on the children we leave to the world." And that the hopes for the future rest with today's young people and their readiness to take up the challenges of the 21st century.
We decided whichever student you take in, at whatever level, we're going to empower them and give them the tools to be able to access the best of education. we're going to put them on a special start program so that they're able to apply to Oxford or Cambridge or Yale or Harvard. But they have to know that they are the best. And walk like the best, talk like the best, write like the best, act like the best, and then they become the best. They come up and try to tell us philosophically women are weaker. Sure, weaker? And they carry a child for 9 months? Why do we selectively between aspects of science and discard others? And that's the reason why I told all my girls, you have to not just be very trained, you have to prove to men in every single competition you're involved in that you somehow are superior to them. Every competition. And that's why when it comes to maths, it comes to science, it comes to engineering, I have to make sure that you prove to them. Don't prove to me, prove to them. The minute you prove to them, it gives you so much confidence that there are no-go areas for you. In music, in sports, in intellectual work, it stays the same. So tonight, the reason I'm excited to be here, I'm not just happy to be here, I'm excited to be here because there's another person that shares the same belief as I have. And there's another person that pretends to be her excellency. She is not her excellency. She has the maternal instinct. And that's what she's reaching out to other girls that are not biologically linked to her. Because she didn't have to do this. Nobody pays her to do this. But she chose to do it. Because I've seen enough women that are successful that will not role model. I'm only interested in my son and my daughter because that's what I'm interested in. But she is cancelled of everything she thinks. I know how busy she is. To say, I want to reach out to girls that may never, ever have the opportunity.
The importance of this program can be seen also in the commitment that His Excellency the President has for the empowerment of women. We all know that he is a champion for he and she. And I don't want to blow my own trumpet in terms of our country because I'm sure Dr. Obiambo will do something about that. So the strides that Zambia has made are commendable, and I think that we need to continue with this because the women form a very strong pillar in all our societies. And in Zambia we recognize that very well, and the President has actually practically demonstrated that. And recently he appointed a female as a running mate, just to fully demonstrate as a running mate for the next president, or for the presidency, and the elections that are coming in August. In addition to that, we all know the portfolios that the women in our country hold. The Chief Justice, the anti-corruption, the top of the police, everywhere you go, you find the women are there. So they hold the widest portfolios within our country. This initiative of empowering women is very important. The Vice President herself has taken up an initiative to empower the outside women through a market initiative where she wants to integrate the women that are selling in the market, in the roadside, build them better structures, provide schools for the children that are with them, provide clean sanitation, and also provide a bank, and also a school and education for the children, and also some type of education for them to improve their business skills. So we have also institutions like FAWEZA, the Women's Lobby Group, that are very active in our country. I must commend that this initiative is very good and it demonstrates what the diaspora itself can give back to the country, and not just to the country, but to Africa as a whole. So I want to commend Justina Mutale for this initiative and the group, and also acknowledge the fact that you've come to support this initiative. For me, it's testimony to the fact that you're willing to really give back and support initiatives that are making a difference in our country and in our world. To say, I must maybe end because the program started late, and I must apologize on behalf of Justina. I'm sure she will say that it was supposed to start an hour late, but nonetheless, I'm hoping the program itself and the initiative will move at a much faster rate than we started. Muhammad Ali, who is a late now, once said that helping others is the rent that we pay God for being on earth.
We are, in effect, at the moment, the youngest continent, with a conservative estimate that says that more than 60% of Africa's population is currently below the age of 25. We also have the fastest population growth, with estimates that by 2050 our population would have doubled. And that means more than 2 billion people. How can we expect to progress, develop, or grow, as Justina mentioned, if we continue to exclude more than half of our human resource and capital from being educated, skilled, and playing a meaningful role in society? The outcomes of Agenda 2063, which has been adopted by African heads of states as our 50-year plan of action, we also took the very same priorities into the negotiations of the Sustainable Development Goals that were adopted last year at the United Nations in September. If you superimpose the one on the other, you will see there is almost identical priorities that have been identified. Increasingly, the word inclusive is being inserted in many development policies and agendas. We talk of inclusive democracy, inclusive economies, inclusive sustainable development and growth. So it is obvious that those who have been marginalized or had their human rights neglected or ignored to date, and here I refer specifically to women, this marginalization has to end, and women have to be included in all forms of activities in the future. The issues are not only for women activists. Everybody needs to get involved and rally behind this commendable initiative.
The president and founder of European School of Economics and colleague of higher education, great authority on African Union. My school is dedicated to individual and not to masses. And I know that Africa needs university for masses to develop, sort of democracy and culture, and to find resources in the crowd, masses. And it's difficult for me to agree with sometimes with Justina, who was so kind to invite me, and I am so happy to participate in this scholarship. Young women in Africa, but a dreamer doesn't have these divisions between women and men. Yeah. And for my experience in the States, in Europe, I can see that women are becoming so powerful. I think that next scholarship I will give it to young men to empower young men. And I think that this is very important for Justina Foundation. I don't believe that there are yesterday or tomorrow. Each very moment is the right moment, is the right time. What I'm feeling right now. We can change reality right now, in this very moment. If we believe that our mistakes change the outer events, and not vice versa. No revolution to believe that you can change man from outside. This is my experience. We can change the world outside ourselves only if we dream the difference. Thank you very much.
Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, and friends. You've taken out your time to be here because I know you're all committed to what Justina has asked us to come and witness her launch this evening. And I really want to say that those who have spoken before me have spoken so powerfully that I'm not very sure I have much else to add, except perhaps to add the icing to the cake. I want to first of all greet you in my language. I come from a country not too far from Zambia, but I consider Zambia my home. I've told Excellency Muyeba many times about my fond memories of childhood days spent in Lusaka. I come from not too far from Kenya, and we say Jambo, and you answer Jambo. Jambo! Jambo! Thank you. I'll speak a little bit about the Commonwealth and tell you a little bit about what we are doing for the education of girls. The Commonwealth has considered Africa and has worked alongside the leadership in Zambia, which I'll tell you about shortly. And we realize that evidence supports the fact that quality education, particularly quality secondary education, is predictive of, firstly, delayed marriage. I want to say this again. The longer we have our girls out there getting an education, starting to work, learning to sustain themselves and support their communities and families, the better it is. I want to underscore the fact that quality education is important, but it predicts delayed marriage. And this is good. This is not necessarily anything wrong. We must inculcate the socialization process, not only with education as a value, but social values that allow our girls to go through life morally upright, but able to sustain themselves. Quality education also predicts delayed and fewer pregnancies. It's important. It's important that girls are able to take care of their reproductive health. It's important that girls are able to determine when they will have children, how many they will have, and the spacing between the children they have. This way, not only will they give better health to their children, but they will be also healthy themselves and able to be productive members of society for longer. Quality education also predicts higher earnings. I think we all know that as education increases within the individual, there will be higher earnings. It also predicts freedom of movement. And all of you will state today that you are here because you are able to travel for many reasons, whether they be because of economic imperatives or social-political dynamics. The fact that you are free to move gives you different experiences. And these are part of the education that you now have as an asset. So I want us to all look at education and quality education as we speak to and support Justina. Education is also a right in its own right. And education contributes to self-esteem. I think if we speak about everything else, but don't talk about self-esteem and the ability of our girls to feel that they're at home with themselves, then we haven't really gotten it right. It contributes to the ability of a girl to stand up for herself and to keep engaging for herself and for her to have self-agency. But also, it contributes to the well-being of the adolescent. I think we've all spoken about the need for the girl child to not only be educated, but also to have a healthy life. I speak to this again. We know that in Africa, we have scourges of malaria, we have the issues of nutrition, we have reproductive health and the scourge of reproductive health. We suffer from Ebola, but we suffer from other communicable, non-communicable diseases, but we really need to ensure health. And I want to underscore health of the young girl. So in our work at the Commonwealth against child marriage, we have found that improving girls' education is really a successful strategy to eliminate child, early and forced marriage. Today we have come to honor Justina and to honor the foundation. And so I think it's important that I personally thank Justina Mutale and the foundation for all the hard work and dedication in the fight to ensure equal access to education, not just in Zambia, but globally. And I invite you all to join me in a round of applause in celebration of this wonderful achievement. Congratulations to Justina Mutale and to the Justina Mutale Foundation. Thank you.
Yeah.